Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Kayla and it's time to crack into a good book. So today is finally the day that we start talking about some urban fantasy recommendations. Now I'm sure many of you are aware just how much I love urban fantasy, so I thought I would finally put together like a whole series of videos just talking about recommendations that I have. So a few months ago I made like a list of urban fantasy or paranormal romance series that I had read that I could just like think of off the top of my head. And I came up with something like 70 books or series, so clearly I've read a lot. I think I'm definitely missing a few. What I generally have in mind for this is to kind of group it up based on the main character. So, are they witches, shifters, humans with some sort of magical ability? Because I think that can kind of give you a better idea of what to expect, I guess, in the series. I think I'm going to talk about a maximum of 5 books or series per video just to kind of keep it reasonable. So obviously, like, there are quite a few books with shifter main characters, so like I'm not going to be able to fit it all into one video. So I think the first topic, I guess, of this video series is going to be shifters. Naturally, I don't have any of the first books in the series here with me currently. They're all at my parents' house, so I'll just have to put up pictures here. So the first series that I'll talk about is the Mercy Thompson series by Patricia Briggs. Now, I've talked about this a few times on my channel, and like you can see, there's a few of these books over here. So I think currently there are 11 books out. I don't know much about how long this series is supposed to be, nor do I really care because I will keep reading them. The first book is called Moon Called. With a lot of these series with female main characters, my best friend likes to call them my ladies in leather books because, I mean, looking at the cover, they're generally wearing some sort of leather outfit, and you kind of know what to expect going into these books. Like, you're typically going to have a badass female main character, and it's going to be great. So in this series, Mercy Thompson is the main character, and she's a coyote shapeshifter. This takes place around the Tri-Cities area in Washington. And so she works as a mechanic. She lives next door, basically, to the alpha of the local werewolf pack. The guy who used to own her mechanic shop was like a gremlin, so a fae creature that could basically handle iron. And, you know, there's vampires, there's witches, obviously fae, werewolves. So there's quite a few magical creatures here. I've loved all of these books. It's one of my favorite series. It's just fantastic. It's been a while since I've read the beginning books, but I think it starts off focusing more on the werewolf pack itself. And then as we have been getting into later books, it starts focusing more on fae. But there's definitely like a lot of crazy supernatural creatures here. And so basically in this world, they're like trying to fly under the radar, like they don't want people to be aware that werewolves are a thing. Though naturally as the books progress, like there's a lot of drama with that. The next series that I'm going to talk about is the Alpha and Omega series, also by Patricia Briggs. Now this takes place in the same world as the Mercedes Thompson series, but the first book in this series is Cry Wolf. So I think there are currently 5 books out in this series. I don't know how long it's supposed to be either. Our main character, Anna, is a werewolf, and she was basically like violently attacked and forced to change into a werewolf. So, she didn't choose that life. The werewolf life chose her, I guess. She's kind of has this like really traumatic experience, and her pack is like really shitty, and like the alpha treats her horribly. So then the like in this world there's like an overall pack leader. One of his sons ends up like coming into Anna's life, and obviously like romance ensues in both of these series. So in this particular book series, Anna is an Omega wolf, so she like has this ability to calm down aggressive werewolves basically. So this is pretty rare, and people are like after her for this ability. There's like a prequel short story called Alpha and Omega that is in the anthology On the Prowl, and I think she does recommend that you read this short story before actually starting the series. I'm sure I've read it, but I don't recall it. In the first book, Cry Wolf, Anna and Charles, who's the son of like the main pack leader, they are going in search of a rogue werewolf that has like really dark magic and threatens like all of the pack's safety. This is also a really fantastic series. Highly recommend it. Patricia Briggs is just fabulous. So the next series that I'm going to talk about is evidently called The Shifter's Circle by Sharon Shin. So I've read several Sharon Shin book series, and I do think this is one of her weaker ones, but I do have still enjoyed the books that I've read. So the first book in this series is The Shape of Desire. So I don't know if this series is over, but I'm pretty sure there's only 3 books out in it. And this, I'm going to say up front, is a very sad series. So basically the premise here is, so I can't remember if all of the main characters are human and they have like werewolf or shifter lovers, or if it switches, if like the main character is occasionally a shifter. But anyway, in this world, the shifters, like every time they shift, it kind of decreases their lifespan, and like they can't avoid shifting, so they have very short lives, and it's really depressing. But going into that, it is a good series. There's definitely a lot of romance, but I think maybe the second book has like a sibling being a shifter instead. I think the shifters aren't necessarily bound to like one specific form, but I don't entirely remember. This is another one where like the shifters are trying to keep their existence on like the DL. So basically in the first book, there's like some brutal attacks happening in a park, and that's happening when the love interest Dante is has shifted into an animal. So Maria, the main character, basically I think is trying to figure out if he is responsible for all these attacks, and all sorts of things happen. I did enjoy all these books. I think I've given them all like 3 out of 5 stars. So they're not the most amazing books I've ever read, but I do think they're worth a read if you can handle like the very sad tone of the books where they basically die a little bit every time they shift. These ones are mostly about like the humans trying to like protect the shifters that they love. The next series that I'll talk about is the Shifters series by Rachel Vincent, and in this world we have Werecats. So that's a little different. So there are 6 books in the main series, and she has started like a spin-off series, which I think has 3 books out. The first book in the main series, which I do recommend that you read before the spin-offs, is called Stray, and the main character is a grad student and obviously a werecat. In this world, there's only like 8 female werecats who are able to have children, so they're like obviously in very high demand. So she leaves her pride to like the pack equivalent for werecats. So she like tries to lead a normal life, but then a stray werecat attacks her because obviously, like I mentioned, he wants her because she can have children. So she discovers that a couple of other female werecats have disappeared. She ends up going back to the Pride, and they're kind of like, oh, we're bringing you back for your own protection, and she's like, nah, whatever, I can handle myself. She like is obviously looking for the werecats that have been kidnapped. Throughout the series, she wants to be an enforcer, but female werecats are typically not given this role, so we see her develop over time. We see more of the Pride dynamics as the book series progresses, and there is definitely romance in here. There's definitely some like steamy scenes happening, but I really loved this series. I gave it all 5 out of 5 stars. Now, I've only read the first book, I believe, in the spin-off series, I guess, but I do want to continue that, and I think it follows one of the other female werecats who was younger than the main character in the main series. The last series that I'll talk about today is the Kitty Norville series by Carrie Vaughn. So the first book is Kitty in the Midnight Hour. Our main character, Kitty, is a werewolf, which is really funny. But anyway, so she works as a DJ in Denver. This is another one where it starts off with her being like viciously attacked by a werewolf and like turned against her will. So, just like be aware of that. But Kitty is pretty badass. So the first one, we have like a werewolf hunter coming after her and I think it's like some vampires maybe. And she just kind of generally has to deal with that. So she works as a DJ and like provides advice to various supernatural creatures. So I think there are 13 books in the main series, and then there's like a couple of spin-off novels. The main series is completed though. So, throughout this book, or this series, there's all sorts of various supernatural creatures. It's mostly werewolves, but there's also vampires and witches, I believe. The beginning books are kind of like on the smaller scale, and then throughout the series, there's like kind of this overall plot. There's also definitely romance in this. There's definitely some like political drama happening here too. Throughout the books, we kind of learn more about like this long game that's played by the vampires, and it's, you know, kind of generally about controlling the world. You know, the scale of things kind of escalates over time. I really enjoyed the series. They're just very fun books. That's just like a very brief overview of the series in general. Obviously, like the plot of specific books varies. Kitty is really awesome, and like the werewolf hunter Cormac is really great too. So yeah, it's a series that I definitely recommend for sure. Those are the five shifter series that I'll talk about today. There's definitely more shifter series that I have in mind for future videos, but we're gonna limit the scale here. Let me know in the comments if you've read any of these series or think you might pick them up, or just generally want to chat about this whole urban fantasy paranormal romance video concept. Obviously, like, I love this genre and just really want to talk about it with people. I hope you're having an excellent day and are reading something awesome. I think I will wrap it up here and see you in the next one.